Hello, crafting friends. I'm Dorene Decibus from It Begins with Ink and Paper, and welcome to Simply Stamping Sunday. I'm very happy that you're able to join me either on the live or during the replay or on my YouTube channel. So thank you for joining me. Tonight I'm going to start with some show and tell. I've been working using my favorite new suite, the Season of Green and Gold, and I have made some more cards with it. These are actually from a stamp camp I attended, and because of my surgery this summer, I kind of fell behind in some of the classes that I chose to take, and so last night and today I decided I am finishing these because these are all going to be part of my Christmas cards, and with these I will have now, I think it's 30 Christmas cards done. Got about 20 more to do, and I'll get those finished before school starts. That's my goal, so that I won't be stressed out when it comes time to make Christmas cards. So here's my first one. It's just a very simple Merry Christmas. The only stamping is the greeting, and then I used my dies to cut out the images from the designer series paper, a piece from a little branch from the gold paper, and I used some garden green paper to cut that out as well. Added some of the bling and used the snowflake or the snowing, lightly snowing embossing folder. So very pretty, I think. For this one, again, the only stamping was the Merry Christmas, and I did take my D block, and you can see the Daffodil Delight in the back. I did ink it up and stamp it on the paper to just give it a little bit of a background, and again I just cut the images with my dies from the designer series paper, and I added it to the front of the card along with some other designer series paper. This card here, again, did sort of the same thing. I stamped all of the greetings, and I stamped, in this case, the bows, and die cut I stamped them all. I didn't die cut anything from the designer series paper except the labels, and then I hand cut all of these. So this one was all stamped with the bows and the leaves. This one here, again, has the stamping of the greetings and this image here, and then I die cut everything else. And the little bit of vanilla that you're seeing on the opposite sides of the plaid paper, designer series paper, is actually the beautiful ribbon from this suite. Here again, I die cut using the dies from the suite to cut out the images from the designer series paper, and I also cut out a bow, and then I cut one of the sentiment labels out and put some designer series paper behind it. So that was a lot of fun. Here's another one. Uses that same die that I used in the card before, and this is the beautiful vanilla ribbon, that satin ribbon that we have that comes with this suite. This is the card that I die cut all of the with the tags out that I used on this card, so you can see where I cut them, and then you can see that I used them on this card that I already showed you. And I stamped the bells using the daffodil and the pecan pie. Here's a festive one using the bells and just part of the bows, and using the beautiful ivory satin ribbon. I just added it by putting it through the tops of the tags. Just a kind of elegant, I think. And I have a piece of the ribbon here too. This one here, again, I used the bells. I did everything is stamped on here. Nothing is cut out of the designer series paper. It's just another fun Christmas card. And then finally this one with a window. I actually, get up close so you can see part of this. I die cut the bows out of the designer series paper, so you can see that one has the metallic, the gold metallic diamonds, and the other one is the striped paper. And then I stamped the bows and the bells, and of course the greeting. And I also made an ornament using an embroidery hoop that I just got off Amazon. And so I didn't do any stamping on this one. I did some die cutting, added some of the ribbon, added a tag, and all that needs to be added is a hook to hang it. And then finally, I made a home decor item. And so hopefully there won't be too much of a, nope, there's not. I don't want to have too much of the light gleaming off of I have a little bit. I'll try to come up closer so you can see the middle part. But this is in an 8x8 frame, and I used the tag, if you remember from this card here. I took the tag that I cut out and I used it here and added some of the designer series paper, some very vanilla cardstock, and then a piece of old olive cardstock. So it just has this beautiful layering of paper. And then the main item here is that tag that's been decorated with stamped images and die cut images. And then some of the berries have been added. So that's my show and tell for today, what I've been working on. Some of these are going to be Christmas gifts, and of course the Christmas cards are going to be going out to family and friends. All right, so let's get started on tonight's event. So tonight this is week 4 of Changing Leaves. We have one more week. We have 5 weeks this month because I started a week in July because I was so excited about this set. And so I'm using this, and I'm also using the Thinking of You from Everyday Greetings because I wanted to just change it up a little bit from using just the same greetings over and over again. I'm going to do tonight a one-sheet wonder, a 6x6 one-sheet wonder. This is the template I'm using. It's designed by Jess at jesscrafts.com. I will be putting a picture of this in the comments afterwards, and I will have a link to it in my description on my YouTube channel. But this is a 6x6 template that I can then turn into cards. And I have to say, I'm calling this a 6x6 one sheet wonder plus because I'm actually going to add one more piece this size, 1 1/4 by 3. One of the things I love about Jess Crafts is when she makes up a one sheet wonder or a card sketch, she always puts in her dimensions, so it makes it just so much easier. So we're going to start for all the cards we're going to make tonight, and I'll show you the cards in just a minute. This is all we're going to need for supplies. We're going to need a 6x6 piece of basic white cardstock. We're going to need, to make the 3 cards, we're going to need 3 pieces, so I've got 3 here, of crumb cake. And the crumb cake measures, of course, 5.5 by 8.5. We are going to need a piece of, several pieces of Blackberry Bliss. And these are all going to measure just a little bit more than these pieces that we're going to be cutting. And those measurements are, let me just open up my cheat sheet. We're going to need a piece that measures 4 by 5. We're going to need a piece that measures 1 1/4 by 5.5. We're going to need 2 pieces that measure 2.5 by 2 5/8. And then we're going to need 3 pieces that measure 1.5 by 3 1/4. And we're going to need an additional piece that's 1 1/4 by 3 just to do some additional stamping on. And I have one here in case I forget to stamp on this one. I'm just going to put it aside. And then I just have some scraps here. They are, I believe, 1/2 inch scraps that we're going to use to stamp our greetings on. So that's all we need for tonight. So let's get started with the stamping, because that's the nice thing about tonight's cards. They're all going to be hand stamped. I'm going to turn this over just so that I have something to stamp with, because I'm going to be stamping off of my cardstock. And I'll show you what the cards look like in just a minute. So I'm going to start with my Blackberry Bliss. And my goal is to totally cover this up with ink. And I've got to remember that small piece. See what I mean? I'm afraid that I'll just keep forgetting. So I'm going to just, for this big stamp, turn it over and ink up the stamp. Blackberry Bliss is such a beautiful color. So I'm going to stamp. I want to make sure. Let me get back. So I'm going to stamp in different directions. I'm going to stamp each stamp at least 3 times. There we go for this first one. I can always come back with more ink if I need to, more images if I need to, but I like to start with my larger stamps and then work down to my smaller ones. So next is going to be Mossy Meadow. I'm using all colors from the neutral family. So I'm using Blackberry Bliss, Mossy Meadow, Crumb Cake, and Early Espresso. So again, I want to make sure I've stamped this at least 3 times. There we go. It's okay if I miss a little bit like I did there, because we're just going to go right back into stamping over it, so it'll be okay. So now I'm going to take my next image, and I'm going to be using this last stamp. It's smaller, so I'm going to try to really fill in the spaces. Turn the stamp so it's moving in other directions. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's see. Since I've totally forgotten to stamp this, we'll start with that. We're going to ink up some Blackberry. And get a little bit of the Mossy Meadow in. And then we're going to talk about what we're going to do with all this extra space, because we don't want, when we're doing a one sheet wonder, we don't want everything, we don't want lots of spaces, because when I chop this up, we're going to want to make sure that we don't have empty space when we make up our cards. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually grab another stamp set, because the one thing that this stamp doesn't have that I actually am surprised at, it doesn't have a splatter stamp, but Thoughtful Wishes does. So I'm going to take the splatter stamp from Thoughtful Wishes, And we're going to use that to fill in our space. And if I think that I need more leaves somewhere, then I can do that too. So I'm just going to get a little block, add this on, and let's fill in the spaces. We'll start with our small piece first. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be stamping on and off with the ink, and I'm going to fill up those white spaces. It'll be easier to hold up this little piece to show you what I mean. But it just kind of fills everything in. So now let's go back to this piece and start. I'm going to be stamping in first and second, even third generation to fill in the white spaces. And if I see a spot that I think needs a little, that I can add a little something else, I will. So like right in here, I'm going to go add that. And I think I'm going to add another one of those in the middle too. And then that means a little less space for splatter. While this is a small stamp, it doesn't take long because I'm stamping with multi-generations. So it doesn't take long to fill in these spaces. Let's see, did I miss anything? Okay, I think that looks good now. So now we have this beautiful sheet that's been just stamped everywhere with our inks and different stamps. And now it's time to cut it up. So let me get my cutter out. So the first thing I'm going to do is take off from the top that 1 1/4 inch piece. And I'm going to cut this into 2 pieces. They're going to be 3 by 3. And they are going to go with that piece that I stamped. Okay, next I'm going to turn the card and I'm going to cut off my 3 3/4 piece. So here's my 3 3/4 piece. Set that aside for a minute. And now we have this piece left. And we are going to be cutting this in half. And it measures 4 3/4. So it is going to be cut by 2 3/8. So we have those 2 pieces cut. Put those up here. And then we're going to take this piece and we're going to cut it at a diagonal. And so I'm just lining up those corners, making sure they're in the track. And I'm going to cut them just like that. So now if we looked at our one sheet wonder, this is not to scale, but we've got that piece there. We've got these 2 pieces here. And then we have these 2 pieces. So to give you an idea of how we cut that up, and then we've got our extra one. Okay, now it's time to put our card together. So this is what we're going to make tonight. We're going to make one card. Let's just move these up. One card that says you are amazing. One card that says a little note to brighten your day, so you can see which pieces I'm using there. And I'm stamping on the top of the card just to give it a little bit more dimension. And then finally, this is why I needed that extra piece. We're making a thinking of you card with the last 2 pieces, but it's 3. All right, so let's get started. So 2 of these cards need to have its front stamped. So here is one of them. And here is the other. All right, and I've got a little bit, so we're going to just fold that the other way. Have the little bit of ink that got on from the stamp. Now I'm going to just take a paper towel and clean my stamps, because we're going to stamp all of these in crumb cake. So we want to get off all the colored ink so that the crumb cake doesn't take on these different colors. So we'll just clean that really fast. There we go. And now I'm going to start with my larger stamp, just like I did before, but this time we only need the crumb cake ink. So we'll ink it up. Now this is going to, I could stamp everything off and make it really light. I'll do that on one just to show you the difference. But this one, I'm just going to stamp it full. And then I'm going to take my little stamp that I used with the splattering and do the same thing. Just fill it in. I'm going to be covering some of this up, but it doesn't hurt to cover the whole front. Okay, so there's one. Now in this one, I am going to be stamping off, just to show you the difference. This will fade over time, probably even before we put the card together. But this time, we'll stamp and then stamp second generation, and you can see it comes out pretty light. Everyone had a great weekend. The weather was really nice yesterday. Today we had a lot of rain. But it's definitely starting to feel fall out at night. Okay, so this gives you an idea of how the 2 different cards look. whether you go full strength or the second generation look. Okay, so now let's start putting some things together. So the first thing we're going to need to do is to take that. I've still got some stamping to do and some cutting to do. So we're going to have to take this piece and we're going to have to cut it in half for our pieces to layer on. So again, I'm just lining the corners up into the track. And then cutting it. And I'm going to take my two pieces, and one's going to go here and one's going to go here. So let's add those with some adhesive. When you're stuck what to do, a one-sheet wonder is, great. You can just do your stamping, come up with a really great idea, and then cut the pieces how you'd like them so that they then make the card. So we're going to go with this one here. Most one-sheet wonders come with a template for how to make your cards. So that's where it really helps to get to do this. And this one too came with a template, and in just a minute I'll show you what the template looked like. Now with this site where I got it, she does her one-sheet wonders mainly with patterned paper, and patterned paper has two sides and can really make the difference in how things look, and I'll show you what I mean. So the next step is to layer these on our patterned paper. This is going to go like this, or maybe I'll do it, I don't know. I think I like it like that. And then let me take one of these, because what the pattern wanted you to do was to take this image here and then put it like that, or maybe it was put it like this. And with all of that stamping, this was just a little too much. So that's why I decided to make this into to take that little extra piece and put that on the, to make that third card. So let's put this on. We'll set this aside and do we've got some stamping to do for greetings. So let's put this one on. And there we go for one. Then we're going to take this one and add it to this piece. And I like that way for this. So here are these two cards. We just need to add the greeting now, and you can see just we've got very light here and a little darker here. Put those up. Let's get these three. This is where we're stamping our greetings, but we're going to put these three on their backings. And I kind of like that this one has the green on it because it kind of ties these two together. I have to say, I do love fall and all of the beautiful colors. Now for this last card, we need our paper cutter one more time, and we're just going to use the scoring tool on it. And I'm going to take this piece and score some lines right on it. So we're going to move 1/4 of an inch at a time and use the gray scoring tool, not the paper cutter tool. Go up and down a couple times. Then I'm going to move to the next 1/4 inch. And then move another 1/4 inch. And then to the final 1/4 inch. Let's there we go. Okay. And this is going to go on the front of our card. So I'm just going to add some adhesive to both sides. And this is going to go sort of right in the middle. I'm going to take that, well, I'll do all the stamping afterwards. Then we're going to line these up how we want them to be on the front of the card. I just want to make sure I've got them spread out enough. I'm going to put them a little higher so we can fit our greeting. And I'm going to start with the one in the middle. Okay, here we go. We'll get our dimensionals. We're going to put dimensionals on the back of this. And then, like I said, the last bit of stamping that we have to do is the sentiments for each card. So I'm going to put these up a little higher because I want room for my sentiment. So there's the middle one. And we're going to put that right even with the middle one. And then we've got one more to do and just a little stamping. There we go. All right, okay, so just a little bit of stamping. We're going to do all the stamping in Blackberry Bliss. We'll start with this card first, and we're going to use the Thinking of You on this one. There we go for card 1. And the other 2 we are going to use You Are Amazing and In Every Single Way. We're going to stamp this on one of the pieces. I think I want to try and get that a little straighter. Well, I'll use one of them. And then the other one is a little note to brighten your day. Oh, that's really bad. I usually need it right under me. There we go, much better. All right, so we're going to just, where are my scissors? I'm going to just clip off a little edge on this. 2 little clips on this one. And now they just need to go on to the front of the cards. So I'm just going to put a little adhesive right down the middle. And then we're going to put one there and the other one on the front. And those are our 3 cards for this week. Move that out of the way. So we had our 6x6 one-sheet wonder with a little extra paper to make these 3 cards tonight. I hope you enjoyed this edition of Simply Stamping Sunday. I will be back Friday night for another edition of Fun Fold Friday, and next Sunday for the last week of our Changing Leaves. And next week I'm going to show you a couple of fun folds with this set. This set is just fabulous, and I know I will keep using it during the fall. So I hope you have a great week. Make sure you've said hi in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from. Like my YouTube channel. Subscribe. And like and follow my Facebook page. Thank you for all you do, and I'll see you Friday night. Good night, everybody.